Hi, I'm Bruce Brownstein, Senior Fellow at the Wharton SEI Center, and I'm here with Professor Zvi Eckstein, Dean of the Arison School of Business and the Tiamsin School of Economics at IDC Herzliya. Professor Eckstein is visiting at Wharton this semester and is the author of several books, and is the former Deputy Governor of the Bank of Israel, where he successfully navigated Israel through the financial crisis. Welcome, Professor Eckstein.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Professor Eckstein, we'd like to cover a host of things, but the first thing we'd like to find out is, how's the Israeli economy doing today overall?
Well, the Israeli economy now is growing lower than in the past. In the past, actually, the Israeli economy has been growing above 5% before the crisis, and during the crisis, only 2 quarters of negative small growth, but actually got out and succeed to grow back into a 4-5%. Now, as world trade become lower from all dimensions, especially Europe and even the U.S. is not doing that great, and Asia, the export sector, which was the key engine of growth in the Israeli economy, slowed down a bit. That's actually, I have to emphasize that the Israeli economy is very resilient to shocks. We had several geopolitical conflict, including minor wars in Lebanon, in Gaza, and the economy responded very quickly, overcoming those shocks, and that's from several reasons. First of all, and foremost, the very vibrant and high-tech oriented export sector. The second is very stable and I would say responsible government policies in actually through all the period where debt and deficits are skyrocketing in all economies, including the U.S. The Israeli budget has been under good management, and debt to GDP continue to decrease. In addition, we have actually a surplus. During the recession in 2009 and 2010, they found extensive reserves of gas. Gas has started pumping into the economy in a much lower price. Energy costs went down significantly. Electricity costs went down significantly. And Israel actually has a large source of energy coming from these gas wells just 100 kilometers from the shore. And in addition to all that, a very stable monetary policy, and that's actually very important. Not only monetary policy, but very stable financial system, well-functioning banks, high-saving individuals. And actually, the only main problem is that with a very low interest rate and actually not very effective government policies, housing prices skyrocket since 2008 and cause a big burden, especially to the younger population who have to buy new housing.
So you mentioned that the government gets some of the credit for the success. So who and what areas of the government has made this possible?
Well, in fact, I would say that the big change in providing overall stable economic conditions started already with the Sharon government in the beginning of 2003. And Benjamin Netanyahu, at that time, the finance minister, they brought the government into a very responsible low deficit and low expenditure growth, and size of the government relative to the economy dropped significantly. In particular, expenses on defense dropped significantly. The stability provided very low interest rate, and with a very stable-oriented, price stability-oriented policy that we had since 2004, and even before, interest rate went down, and therefore the debt to GDP went down, and therefore expenditures on interest payment of the government went down dramatically. With a much smaller government and a growing economy throughout the decade that started in 2003, had a small downward in 2009, but back to growth in 2009 and 11, in particular 10 to 11. We actually had a debt to GDP to decrease from almost 95% of GDP to today is something around 68% of GDP and still continue to be very stable, where the rest of the Western world, debt to GDP, are growing dramatically and cause a lot of internal instability in Europe. Even in the US, it's a big problem.
And so although it's not perfect, it seems that relative to global economic conditions, Israel is doing okay.
Israel is doing okay, very stable. I mean, I would say that another thing that we have to emphasize is employment. Israel employment rate and unemployment rate are better than the U.S. The participation has increased dramatically. We still suffer from several segments like female Arabs and ultra-Orthodox men don't work as we expect them. But if we look at the whole total economy, we have done a huge change, a huge transformation with which was actually led by government policies, started in 2003, but continued throughout the period with changing the government and changing economic conditions. We are below 5% of unemployment, which is the lowest ever in Israel, among the lowest among Western economies. And we have a very high employment rate and very high overall participation rate, which has not been calmed down. So overall, that side of the economy is excellent. What is not doing very well is the productivity. We are really lagging in productivity quite significantly from Europe and the US in the domestic economy, not in the high-tech sector. And this low productivity in the domestic economy and the high-tech sector, which is blooming, generate wide income distribution, taking into consideration also the hike of almost 50% increase in the housing prices and enhance the inequality problems that generate some social unrest. And that's actually the main challenge of the government today, is taking control of the housing sector, taking control of the inequality, and in particular enhancing the productivity of the low skill and medium skill individual, those who enter to the market and those who coming with low skill, like the Arab population and the ultra-Orthodox who don't get maybe the right, I would say, education background and knowledge how to deal in a modern and changing environment to really push up productivity and get their wages going up.
Okay, so on the housing issue, if you had a magic wand, what would be the solution to the housing issue?
The housing issue comes all of it from a problem of supply of land. The government has a huge share.
How big a share?
Well, overall, people put the 97%, but it is more in the areas which are supposed to be urbanized, where we build. It's around 80%. Some location it's 50%, 60%, but other location it's 100%. And the government has been very inefficient in regulating the whole planning. And the economy is growing. Most people don't understand that Israel is among the highest population growth in all Western economies. So if you go to countries which are as developed as Israel, which have GDP per capita above $30,000, we are the highest growth economy. We are growing almost 2% a year. Just the US is growing now 0.7% a year, so 1/3. And the planning of development of new housing has not been adjusted to this large growth of population. It's true that a lot of this is among the lowest income groups, and that's actually is a challenge to deal with it. But at one point, it's a huge one, is to really reorganize the planning and making more land available for development and more land available for urbanization of the growing population. That has been neglected totally in the last 15 years, and the young people paying the price, and the price is huge.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so how about the tech sector?
Well, the strongest part of Israel is the high-tech sector. The high-tech sector is built basically on the shoulders of young, innovative, smart Israelis who are having actually a very strong educational system. Although on the average we don't do as great, but if you look at the top one, the main problem of the culture is a culture of innovation. Innovation is not only mathematics, it's not only school, it's a culture of thinking how to make things better in all dimensions, in social, in technology and biotech, and in Israel.
The advantage of discontent.
Yeah, and that is an innovative society. So there is a culture of that. This culture also exists when the top individuals finish high school. They go to the army. A large percentage of them actually going to the intelligence unit, where they basically going into incubating and learning how to invent new methods of related to army activities, but it's really give them a very strong background on innovative using computers, using new programming, using the high memory, using the speed, using the imaginary world of this new technology. And when they leave the army, in the army, they provide a huge infrastructure of knowledge for the army on all dimensions, from intelligence to methods of protection, to methods of security, and to method of intelligence. And when they go out of the army, they are basically start going into the innovative sector. And when you look at Israel, there are almost 2,000 startups just around a radius of 100 kilometers around the center of Tel Aviv. And it's probably one of the most innovative economy on this dimension. Only in the last year there were IPOs of corporations who went out and were bought by either larger corporations or by themselves start producing in all the areas that require new applications and new methods of in the era of innovative society.
And do a couple of names of either entrepreneurs or companies come to mind that are your favorites?
Well, I think one of them is, for example, is Waze, which grew up to be a leading under Google. Google bought Waze. Waze is introduced a new method of how to navigate GPS of cars. That's in particular. There are many others that I don't remember all the names, but they are in advertisement, in securities. We have a corporation that actually Checkpoint that grew up also from the intelligence in the army, which is a leading company in all the important issues of providing securities, and cybersecurity actually become a huge area of innovation activities. And there are many small and medium-sized companies that merge into this growing industry.
So you're a Gil Shwed fan or a Dr. Dorit Dor?
I mean, I'm a fan of many people. I think the key point is that it really provides a huge success and investment in new ideas that provide both individual gain for the people who are working in this, but also for the entire society on a range of products, including biotech. Israel, some people like Jacob Richter, which were initiating the stent to basically save thousand and million maybe of life. It's another example that started in the early 90s. But the range is huge.
And how about financial capital? Is Patango doing a good job, or JVP? And what do you think of our crowd?
Well, I think many people know about Israel. Actually, it's worldwide. It's not only the funds. We have now people coming from China, people coming from Korea, people coming from the US, people coming from Europe. And actually, they realize it's really the people. It's the people in Israel who has this knowledge, who has this ambition, who has this drive. And this sector doesn't suffer from the excess regulation of, for example, what we discussed before, the real estate sector. Mm-hmm. This sector is completely free. It's basically all export-oriented. In fact, the Israeli economy provides a lot of export-oriented subsidies, I would say tax incentives in many dimensions. And since there are no restrictions on the forming the company and selling the company and being recognized worldwide, and there are some advantages like the academia, the strong academia, the strong knowledge, and the preparation I mentioned in terms of the army of the workforce. Or in addition, the universities, we have about 5 departments in computer science, which are almost all of them are top 20 in the US. So they have top professors, and they teach them all the up-to-date methods, which are changing all the time. And that's all ecosystem pro high-tech has generated, I would say, relative to the size of the economy, but even not just relative to the size of an economy of 8.5 million people, relative to the world, it become kind of what we call the startup nation, or if I want to say, we say Silicon Wadi, meaning that Wadi is a valley in Arabic, and the silicon taking from the U.S. West Coast location.
Creating the second largest cluster outside of Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
Okay, so to summarize the challenges and opportunities you see over the near and long term for Israel?
Well, I think the main challenge, I mentioned this before, is the large inequality within Israel, which is to some extent has been stabilized and reduced in the last few years due to the increase in employment. However, it can decrease the inequality quite further by really improving the productivity of the new workers who are coming from a population that does not have the access to the high-tech sector. So the challenge is to take some of these people and train them to be also in high-tech sector, but also to take all the, what I call the domestic economy and make it more productive, more efficient, reduce regulation, reduce the increase the availability of housing, and reduce the prices. Those actually the current finance minister put it on his agenda. I hope to see him actually fulfilling his promises by reducing housing prices, increasing productivity of the low skills, and decreasing inequality. More competition. We have a lot of domestic goods which are very expensive compared to the world. We can really work on more competition and reduce it. We haven't been very good on regulating our new gas wells in making them actually pumping the gas out and getting it internal to the Israeli economy and probably exporting them. So we should really improve the bureaucracy and the local regulation such that the knowledge and the ability and the incentives of the local people to really push the economy forward would not be blocked by a lot of government inefficiency.